So those of you who could not, or if you're on this Zoom call and for any reason you get disconnected, if you're a Facebook friend, you can go onto Facebook and you will find me live streaming there. Good evening, everybody. This is Chanti Niven. Chanti Niven with Chanti Niven International and the Captivating Speakers Program. And tonight, a very exciting night for me because I'm going to be presenting a live training online, and not for the first time, because if you've been following me on Facebook, you'll be seeing that I actually have been working very hard on my camera skills. This has been an area of challenge for me because I like looking into faces and seeing people and getting that response from people. So this is the hard part for me, is looking into a camera and trying to be as natural as I would be when I'm standing in front of you. And those of you I can see that are joining me are people who have seen me live, and so you know I am very responsive to people. But I'm getting better because I'm using the power of my mind and my imagination to see you all in front of me. So thank you for joining me this evening, and thank you for being part of this wonderful training tonight. I'm going to give you some really good meaty content about what it is that captivates. And this is something that I do know is unique to me because I have been through training, so much training. I think I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you add it all up, on the programming and training that I have gone to, and going way back, I already give my age away, way back 30 years where I started training in this area. I have really focused on public speaking, communication skills, and understanding the human mind and human behavior. As you are all aware, I am actually a multiple award-winning public speaking, I hate the word champion, it sounds kind of boastful, doesn't it? But I've won many awards and ribbons and trophies and in this area. More importantly than my winnings and my ability to speak in public and to have people hire me for this purpose is that I've trained others to do the same. I've taken people who've never presented a speech before, entered that person or those people into contests, and they have won. We're well known, for example, within the Toastmasters organization, that the people who come through captivating speakers training have just gone into the contests, and they are very, they dominate there in the contests. I've also taken people in the corporate world, and as I've trained them, they have been promoted and enjoyed raises, and people in their own businesses have enjoyed increased earnings. I've got people who will stand and say this. I've got lots and lots of testimonials to this effect, that people have doubled, trebled, quadrupled, and in a few cases recently, people have increased their earnings by 10 times. One woman claimed that she went from $10,000 up to $100,000 earnings in a month. We're not talking about a year. And I've had a second person do that and actually prove to me that after 6 months worth of training, that he has achieved the same accomplishment. So I'm not saying that those are the results that everybody will get, but training yourself and learning how to speak so that you stand out and, more importantly, are remembered is one of the most important things that you could possibly learn. And I'm going to share with you why in this training. Okay, if you want to know about my credentials, by the way, go to chantiniven.com. You'll learn a little bit more about me. This is the part that I really hate, is having to tell people how marvelous I am. Only thing I can say, absolutely honestly and truthfully, and look at the camera and say that I do get results. I've got so many videos before and after. One last week with somebody who's on this webinar, who in one training just did such a huge leap, and she even said herself, I can see the difference. Well, if you go through this 8-week training, you will see a difference in your speaking skills, and you will develop so many other skills along the way, which we're going to soon find out. So let's get ready and go. All right, and here we are. Hopefully you can still see me in the corner. So how do you become captivating? I want you to think about this just for a second, because you know what captivating is. You know it when you see it. You notice somebody and they just stand out from the crowd. Now, I will tell you that I can look into crowds of 200 to 300 to 400 people, and I may notice only 1 or 2 people. And there's a reason why I notice them. There's a reason why they stand out. But I want you to think about what is captivating to you, what grabs and holds your attention, what makes you look again. And then when it comes to speaking, if you're watching TED Talks or you're watching speeches, and I have watched thousands in my life, which one of those are memorable and why? What makes one speaker stand up above the rest? And I'll tell you, when you learn the skill, this is going to put you into a whole new category. You will achieve success like you could never even imagine before. This is very, very important. So let me tell you, first of all, what others have said to me that they find captivating. Some funny ones here, aren't they? Smells good. Polished, vulnerable, the style of hair and dress. But it's very interesting that these are all sorts of words that have been used to describe someone that people find captivating and what they think it is that makes them captivating. We even took to the streets. There's a video on YouTube, if you look up captivating speakers, where we went and interviewed people on the streets and asked them what they found captivating. And it was just so interesting to hear the responses. You see, sometimes we think about these things, but we don't fully, deeply understand exactly what it is. We have words to describe it, but we don't fully understand what it is that makes one person stand out. You may think it's the way they look. You may think it's the way they dress. You may think it is the way that they actually speak. But there are other qualities that are really important when it comes to being a captivating speaker. And I share this one example very often about Norma Jean, and in other words, Marilyn Monroe, being interviewed by a reporter. And they walked around New York, and she was absolutely invisible. Nobody noticed her. Nobody knew that she was the great Marilyn Monroe. And when they were in the subway, she turned to the reporter, and with a wicked smile, she said, "Would you like to see her?" And he was a bit confused for a while, and then he realized what she meant. And he said, "Yes, I would." And she suddenly, and in an instant, transformed herself into Marilyn. She changed the way she stood. She changed the turn of her head. And just that, changing something, people turned around, began to look at her. Next thing you know, she was just mobbed with people who recognized Marilyn. You see, she could walk around as ordinary Norma Jean, but she could also put on her Marilyn. And what was it? What was it about Marilyn that made people sit up and take notice of her? We'll get into the answer a little bit later. Before that, I'm going to share one of my favorite stories. And those of you who are my followers and people who come to my Captivating Speakers gym have heard this story. And bear with me, because there's some great content on the other side. And I want you to get a very simple lesson from a very simple story. My grandmother on my father's side was a writer. And I actually think I've developed some of the qualities that she had. She was very creative. She loved telling stories, and I loved listening to stories growing up. Some of my favorite times were spent cuddled up next to Granny with my head on her shoulder, listening to these wonderful stories that she would tell. She really knew how to tell a captivating story. Some stage in my growing up years, I think I was about 12. I can't be quite sure of the age. I think about 12. I saw a commercial, and the commercial it was a Revlon body mist product. This is a spray-on fragrance. And the commercial started off with a beautiful young woman spraying herself with this body mist. And then she would walk confidently out into the street, dressed up to the nines, of course, and she'd be strutting down the street, being ever so captivating, when suddenly a handsome man rushes up with a huge bouquet of flowers. It ends off with a line, "When a handsome stranger suddenly rushes up to give you flowers, that's impulse." I was captivated by this commercial. I immediately went out and bought the body mist, Revlon body mist kit with the spray on and all of these different little things, and I gave it to my grandmother as a gift. I don't know why I thought grandma needed it. Maybe I figured she was single and needed some attention, but I bought her this gift pack. Now, grandma, being a writer and who just loved writing little notes to people, after you'd have tea with her, she'd write you a little handwritten note, any excuse to write. For some reason, quite a few months after this, my grandmother decided to write to Revlon, to the makers of this product. And she said, Dear Revlon, I have been using your product for 6 months now, and so far, no handsome strangers have come rushing up to give me flowers. Do you think it's because I'm 86? Now you may ask, why did she do this? I have absolutely no good answer for you. I think it just tickled her funny bone. She thought this would be a good idea, and she sent that letter off and never gave it a second thought. Some months later, she's sitting at her writing desk, and suddenly, bing bong, there's a ring on the doorbell. Well, Grandma gets up, shuffles over to the door, opens it, and there, sure enough, is a handsome young man with a huge bouquet of flowers and a note. And on the note, it said 2 words. That's impulse. If you look at the image, it'll remind you. I want you to think about that story for a moment. It's simple. I didn't give too much in the way of details. I didn't tell you what my grandmother looked like. You imagined what she looked like because she was 86. Certain characteristics that came out as I shared the story. Hopefully, you got a visual in your mind. I want you just to think about how powerful that story is in terms of the fact that obviously the story was so important to Grandma that she shared it every day for the rest of her life. And I have been sharing it for 30 years since. Revlon got massive mileage out of this. I'm sure they've sold quite a few products. And I am quite sure that nobody in Revlon, when they got the note from the little old lady, was saying, let's make this viral. Let's use this opportunity. We can make some money. No, I believe somebody picked up this letter and thought, oh, how sweet. Let's make an old lady's day. And so they did. Hold on to it for a minute. Now I want you to think about a different type of story. Technically, it's not a story. It's just a piece of writing. I want you just to read this for a moment. Do you start feeling your eyes becoming heavier and heavier? Unless you are an electrical engineer and you know the technology here and you understand all these words like transformers and resistors and broken delta legs and all of this kind of stuff, you are not going to be able to remember this piece if I tested you and your life depended upon it. I've tried this many times through many audiences. And so what I do is after I show this piece and I move on to what we remember according to academics, I'll ask people, what do you remember of the impulse story? And I don't always tell the impulse story. I have a whole bunch of stories and I tell different ones each time. But I tell the story and then I share the technical piece, or actually get even better, get someone from the audience to get on up and share it in a monotone. When it comes to the story, people remember great details. They remember that I was 12 years of age. They remember that it was Revlon, that it was body mist. They remember the handsome stranger, the flowers. They remember details. Sometimes I even put in very specific details. They seem to remember everything. As long as they visualized it, they were able to remember it. In the second instance, unless I only once in all this time did I have an electrical engineer, and even then would never have been able to remember all the details, but just the gist of it. These 2 examples make my point for me, and we're going to get more into why this is a little bit later on in the presentation, but I want you to think about when you're presenting information, and it's purely information, people would be better off if you send them something to read. Let me show you why. So this is what academics put together in terms of what we remember, and then I'm going to break the rules for you. So apparently when you hear, like today, you hear information, you remember the least of it. So audio books, for example, which are the latest fad, you would not remember very much of that if you just listen. As I said to you, I'm going to break the rules in a minute, so just hang in with me. If you read something, you remember a little bit more because your imaginations come into play there sometimes. And it really depends on the writer. I was shocked to learn that Amazon, across all their self-help books, people on average get to page 17 and abandon the books. They don't read past page 17. It's very interesting that some bright spark decided to write 17-page books after that and apparently made a whole lot of money. Clever idea. And we go up this list. You remember more of what you see and hear, say and write. And then at the very top of the list, what you do. So those are activities, simulations, and games. So if you have a workshop, the idea was, and when this was presented many years ago, you want to get people into activities and doing things. And when they do these things, or immediately teach those things, because that's one of the most powerful ways to remember is to actually teach the information. I'm going to remember more. Good, isn't it? But here's the interesting thing. If we're going to provide online content, I need to be able to give you a way that is a little bit more than that. So let me share with you one thing that puts all of this on its head. Let's move. And yet, here is the secret. Listen up, because if you can just remember this one thing from my presentation today, you will have taken a gem, an absolute gem home with you. If it's this one thing that you do not forget, it's this thing. I mean it. Stick here. It's called movie method. I want you to consider right now, while you're watching me, a movie that you watch. Not just a movie, a captivating movie. A movie where you were fully immersed, where you lived through the movie, where you were gripped by the story, where you related to the characters. Now, if I had to ask you about that movie, you'd be able to tell me in pretty great detail. There are movies that I've seen 20 years ago that I could describe in great detail. And there's a reason why. This is brain science. Apparently, when we're just going about our daily life, not apparently, this is a fact. This is actually researched over and over again. We go about our daily life. We have filters in place that filters about 98% of what we receive through all of our senses. So what we see, what we hear, what we touch, all of our senses is filtered, and there is only certain information that gets through and stays, that sticks. And the reason for that is that if we didn't have the filter, we'd go absolutely crazy. We can't receive all this information that's being thrown at us every day. Think about it. Billboards, signs, everything around you as you drive on your way down Ventura Boulevard or wherever it is that you're driving. There's so much stuff assaulting your senses, sounds and things going on around you. Your brain is filtering it with the exception of certain things. And those things are there to put in place for your survival. So it's what you value and obviously what is going to be of danger to you, what's going to threaten your life. Very important. Your brain is always vigilant and it's got things in place that are making sure that you stay alive. So that's its primary function, is your survival. And the second thing is conserving energy. And then, of course, anything that you value or an interest. You'll notice, for example, I say this, if you're pregnant, you'll suddenly notice other pregnant women. You'll notice babies. If you're really into sports cars, you will notice sports cars. If you're into motorbikes or Harleys, you'll notice motorbikes, right? You get the gist. Now, getting back to the movie method. Why do we remember so much of movies? And then how can you use that in your speaking? Your brain, and they've done MRIs, brain scans to test this. When you watch a movie and you are immersed, if you watch a movie and you are immersed in that movie, in other words, that movie captivates you, your brain believes you are living in that scenario. That's why if you watch a horror movie, adrenaline shoots through your body. You actually feel like you're under threat. When the slasher comes around and starts slashing people, your brain says, danger, danger. Point is, you are living the movie. You are living the scene and your brain receives it as though you were actually there. And therein lies the secret to captivating. Think about this for a moment. Key and central to this is stories. Not just any story. A story where people can actually slip into the scene. You might say, well, movie method is very visual. You're seeing images and pictures are worth 1,000 words. I've heard that before. I never watch television. The first time that I saw television, I was 16. And by then it was just like, I did watch movies. I would go on a Saturday afternoon and watch a movie. But in my young days, I was at a boarding school and I would listen to radio shows and they would tell stories. I was so immersed in those stories that to this day, I remember them. I'm not going to give away how many years ago, but I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago. Stories that I have held and remember to this day because they were able to create mind pictures. They were able to play to the theater of my mind, creating images and helping me to be immersed. Now, you might think, well, this mind filter is here. So how do I break through the mind filter? Because one of the things that you will know is that you can watch a speech today. Tomorrow, you'll remember a fair amount. Next week, you'll remember very little. And the week afterwards, you've probably forgotten all the content. You'd have to watch a speech many times over to remember it, unless it really profoundly impacted you. Let's say you watched Brené Brown on vulnerability, and that really touched you in some way. You could relate to it. That then will stick with you. But other than that, you could watch a speech every day, and you belong to Toastmasters, hear many, many speeches, and very few of them will have the power to captivate you. One of the reasons for this is how, as I mentioned, unaware you actually are. You walk through life being largely unaware of anything. And let me prove this to you. Anyone watching this internationally, you're off the hook. But if you live in America, you surely know what a penny looks like. You handle them every day. You've handled them for all your life. So if you are so observant, please look at this list from A to O. Some of my people who've gone through captivating already know this. And tell me, which one is the real penny? I'll give you a couple of minutes. No, not even. I won't give you long. You should be able to pick it out straight away. Which one would you say is the real penny? Is it A, B, C, D? We know it's not E because that's my captivating logo. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. Which one is it? Write it down right now. Write down which one you think it is. How many of you guessed A? I'm going to guess not many people. And I know I'll be right because I've tested this on hundreds and thousands of people in audiences. So many people handle pennies every day for all their lives and yet can't pick out which is the real penny. Why? Because it's not important to them. Doesn't need to be something that you know about. You kind of have a general idea of what it looks like, and that's all that matters. It's a penny, right? But that is to prove my point, that you don't really notice much and you're not very aware. So the second part of my message tonight, other than creating for people who are living in a zombie-like and half asleep state, how to get through the filters so you can message in a way that is captivating and that sticks. The second part of my message tonight is about how you can develop a superpower because you can become more aware just to start to notice the things around you. And if you do that, just even a notch up, 1%, 2%, 5% more than others, if you begin to notice things, you will develop the superpower. You'll be able to read people, understand them. And if you understand people, you have inordinate power. A very good friend of mine, very dear friend, in fact, I'm doing a radio show with him tonight, or a live Facebook show called Talk. His name is David Lofi. He's on the spectrum. He is the most amazing person. He fascinates me. His brain fascinates me, but I call him Sherlock because he has had struggles in certain areas as he was growing up. So he developed powers in other areas. And one of his powers is the power of observation. He notices things that regular people don't. And that has helped him to be very successful in business. Now, one of the things that helped me to become more observant is the fact that I was blind for 3 years. I'm not going to go into that tonight because I don't have that much time. But going blind helped me to develop my other senses, one of them being my hearing, to really tune in and listen. So I want you guys to start doing the same thing, tuning in, listening, and observing. What does marbles got to do with it? Have you ever heard the expression losing your marbles? I used to always say that I'm losing my marbles. But really, this is just an analogy for the fact that we can only handle a certain amount of information. First of all, we now know that you can only focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking is an absolute fallacy. But also your brain has in the short-term memory only so much space. So anything, and we're all so filled up with so much information at the moment because there's just so much coming at us, that if that working memory, that short-term memory, that RAM is full, nothing else is going to sit in there. You can put another marble in there, it's all going to spill out. So that is why the captivating training is so important, because we're going to bypass that working memory and we're going to imprint into the long-term memory. People won't even know what's hit them. People are not even going to know. Okay, so let me give you some real meat tonight. What gets through the filters, other people's filters? What can you share that is going to get through their filters and stick an imprint into their long-term memories? And everybody at Captivating knows the socks. Socks, S-O-X. I'm going to give you some socks education. I want you to remember this and remember it well, because this is going to stick in your minds, because I'm pinning it on this message, on this memory method, okay? The S stands for stories. I've already given one in the very beginning. Remember the impulse story with my grandmother? Stories. You need to learn storytelling. Not just any stories, immersive stories. Stories that are not too detailed. In fact, I will teach you techniques of how you can use broad strokes, because you need to. I call that creating a skeleton that other people hang their flesh on. Sounds gory, doesn't it? But it's a very powerful message. And then microscoping in and giving detail where you need to give detail to. Storytelling is a very powerful tool in your arsenal, very important. The second thing on the S, staying in the S, is anything that is shocking, startling, sensational. Think about headlines. Headlines grab our attention because they're designed to grab our attention. So anything that shocks you, startles you, surprises you. And I'll be providing techniques through the training where you can do that. You want to shock people. You want to startle them. You want to surprise them. You want to be different. That's the S. Another thing I could add there is sexy, because, well, we're all attracted to sexy things. O. The O stands for simply one word. Original. Original. When we see a lot of the same thing, we tune it out. We have to. Our brains are pattern makers, but they're also pattern determiners. So if you see the same pattern, if people speak in the same way, for example, TED Talks, absolutely brilliant. I was watching them in the beginning, just a devouring information. Now some bright sparks have come along and given people a template and a formula. And now it seems that there are an awful lot of TED Talks that sound exactly the same. They all seem to follow a same formula. And it's very difficult, because now what's happening is the filters have come up. So the level, what you need to be developing is your originality. Be, first of all, completely, authentically yourself. Be you, because nobody else can be you other than you. Magnify and improve yourself. Develop the good parts of you, which is something that we're going to be doing in the program. And be original. That means don't conform and follow a pattern, because you will very quickly be tuned out. We want you to be fabulous, captivating. And the X stands for, that was me opening the trench coat. I've cheated here. Expose. Expose yourself. Don't strip in front of an audience, although that would definitely grab attention. Strip off the masks. Strip off the stuff that you put on, the faces that you put on, and be vulnerable. That's the Brené Brown message. Not just be vulnerable, but share your weaknesses. There's nothing worse. That's why I absolutely hate. In the beginning, when you're sharing a message, you need to be telling people why they should listen to you, why you're an expert in a certain field. I'm very uncomfortable with that. I really, really am. I don't like that part of it. Because truthfully, if you read my book, you'll find out I was a terrible student. Terrible. Every teacher's worst nightmare. I was expelled from the boarding school that I went to. I was always in trouble. I was that naughty kid. I always joke that today I get paid to speak. There was once upon a time where I was paid to shut up. My father said I could talk the hind legs off a donkey. I don't know what it meant, but apparently I was talking even way back then. The difference with me now is that I really try hard to listen. And when I do listen, I listen intently because there's a reason and purpose behind it. So exposing yourself. The second thing I already hinted at, break patterns, break your own patterns. If you've got patterns that you're in every day and you become a zombie, you brush your teeth the same way, you do everything very routinely. And it's important that you do that because your brain is conserving energy. But start breaking your own patterns, start being different. When I run this training online, and if you join me for the training, you're going to learn some of the patterns that you need to break. Very, very important that you break these patterns so that you can start developing content that is going to startle and to surprise people and stick with them. Very important that you are different to the pack. Otherwise, you won't stand out. Look at the zebra here, or zebras where I come from. You're immediately going to notice the one that's facing the wrong way because he's facing the wrong way in your mind. He's breaking the pattern. Now, I'm going to finish off this training with this because what I want you to remember from my message today, first of all, what is captivating? Well, I think for me, captivating is a certain level of confidence. Very important to have confidence. How do you develop confidence? That's part of my training. It's also, I think, being comfortable with who you are. Confidence comes from being just comfortable with who you are. It's not trying too hard. You've seen people getting up on a stage or talking in front of others and they try too hard, or they're awkward. They're nervous, they're anxious. That all comes across in the body and in the way that they talk. And that takes away from it. You feel uncomfortable for them. They can't be captivating. So something that I'm going to be covering a lot in my training is how do you develop that confidence? And there are ways that you can do that. The other part about being captivating is to create for your audience an immersive experience. You need to be able to share stories. And I'm not just going to tell you to share a story. I'm going to teach you how to do that in a way that people will be living in your story and will remember it forever. You'll learn techniques on how to break through mind filters so that you can provide information that sticks, it's unusual, it stands out. And I always use the example of if you're driving home from work every single day, you just will not remember that trip. But if you turn to the left and you see an orange Cadillac and in the back is a baby giraffe, not only are you going to see it, you're going to remember it. You won't forget it because it's an anomaly. It's not meant to be there. It stood out. Therein lies some of the keys. Breaking patterns, being different. These are the keys to being captivating. But you're going to have to learn some tools because you can provide great stories, but if your speech patterns are distracting, if you use a lot of filler words, so, like, if you're using words or you're speaking too fast or too slowly, you are going to lose your audience's attention. Mastery of your voice and on your presentation skills is so important. So I'm going to give you the first lesson that I'd be providing you in training in conscious communication. If you've joined Toastmasters or joined any organization, what they normally have is they have an R counter, counts your R's and ums, and in some cases fines you for every R and you use. They don't teach you how to stop using them. And so many times I've seen people go through Toastmasters 20 and 30 years on still using many filler words. Because the thing is, you can't weed something out that has become an unconscious habit. It's just there. It's your speech pattern. And by the way, I don't care if you use an and a so here and there. We just don't want you to use it as a crutch and to use it too much because people start seeing the pattern and they'll miss the message. So here's my tip for today. You've learned quite a bit and I've given you quite a bit of meat today that you can immediately apply into your speaking to become captivating. In fact, I've given you, if you really listen carefully to this, the core of captivating. But if you want to become a better speaker, become conscious of the words you say and how you say them. And here's how you do this. This is part of brain science. You're unconscious of what you say most of the time. The way to go back into conscious communication is to speak at half your normal rate. Don't do that when you're conversing with somebody else. They're not going to like you at all. What you're going to do is every day, you're going to do this little practice. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to videotape yourself or audio record yourself talking about something, sharing a story. Or if you've presented speeches, listen to the speech and note the words that you use most often. Are you saying Are you going Are you saying so? Big one here is like in California. Like. Or you know. There's a professional speaker that I have coached. He's a great speaker, but he uses a lot. It drives me crazy. So note those words, write them down, and then say to yourself that you're going to consciously avoid using those words. And every day, 5-10 minutes while you're driving in your car or in the shower, speak consciously. That means enunciating every word, especially the last consonant, and saying each word separately, even enunciating and saying the syllables separately. Slow down and talk like I am right now, consciously selecting every word. Do this every single day, because what happens is your brain then goes into manual. It starts to think consciously of every word, and it starts to change your patterns. Little by little, you can begin to speed up again until you get to your normal pace. And you will find that you will have weeded out all those unnecessary filler words. Do not be afraid to pause. When you want to use a filler word, just stop. Take a breath. Continue. Don't use run-on sentences. Don't say and so, and so, and so, and so. Just stop, pause, start the next sentence. And I'll be giving you a lot more fantastic content in the next 8 weeks if you sign up for my Rapid Results program. Here's what you're going to learn: how to overcome fear and to develop magnetic confidence. We don't want you to be fake confident. We want you to be really confident. We want you to be fully yourself. I have a client who comes to Speaker's Gym. His name's Marco. I don't know if he's listening here right now. I love this dude. He's just got this character. He's very different to others. And he's funny. He's genuinely funny. He doesn't even have to try to be funny. I wouldn't want to change him. I just want him to be more him, more natural, more confident, I should say. You're going to learn very simple ways to craft a speech. There really isn't much in the way of content out there other than really old content in terms of how to craft a magnetic, captivating speech. You're going to learn memory methods of the masters. You're going to learn how you can memorize a speech. You could write a speech today and memorize it and deliver it the same day. Won't that be helpful? That technique is also going to be used in reverse on how to include that information into your talks so that other people, without any effort whatsoever, will remember what you said. Wouldn't that be helpful? Great, isn't it? Voice techniques. And by the way, this is just some of the stuff you're going to learn. I'm going to teach you how to use your voice to wake an audience up, to calm an audience down. And there are so many other applications for this. Calming volatile situations. There are so many ways that you can use your voice to change things. Now, do I always practice this, by the way? No. I'm going to admit to be the first one that sometimes my voice gets very strident when I get upset. But then I remember that I can become a conscious communicator. And then you're going to learn a lot about body language, about how to read it and interpret what the audience is saying to you, because they are talking to you. And you're going to learn how to use it so that you can come across as magnetic and powerful and unforgettable. I'm going to teach you some techniques that are going to just change the way you present forever. Very powerful stuff. I hope that you've learned something from this presentation today. And as you see, do it. Don't quit. And I'm going to stop the share just for a second because I'm going to take you to what's your next step. Back again. And thank you everybody for joining me this evening for my Captivating Speakers training. When you sign up for this program, and by the way, all of those people who are in ProSpeak, you get automatic entry. If you have ever done my 3-day boot camp rapid results program, you also get free entry into this program because you are now like a lifetime member. So this is like a refresher course for all of those. For the rest of you, if you want to join the captivating family, you want to be part of this captivating revolution, if you want to learn how to be more captivating, then you can sign up. And this is how you sign up. I'm going to share with you in a second. First of all, here is my website. Oops, no, I'm on the wrong place now. Let's go here. Go to chantineven.com/RRP. You see that? Oh. I had to have one little tiny glitch tonight. Okay, so let's try that again. There we go. There we go. Let's see. All right, so what we had to do is we had to go to chantineven.com/RRP for Rapid Results Program. Ah! What? www. There we go. Wealth through speaking. You know what? This course has helped me and helped others earn wealth. So if you want to increase your earnings, some people say, I don't want to increase my earnings. Well, then don't increase your earnings. But if you want to, and you want to learn how, here's how you're going to sign up. So I'm going to share with you, first of all, what it's all about. My program costs $1,695. You're not going to pay that today. Isn't that great? I have had this program valued by somebody in marketing, an expert in marketing, and was told it's worth thousands of dollars. There I am facing it. But I've marketed at just as my launch price of $1,695. For those of you who are watching me tonight or see this video, you can pay half that. And you can also, there are ways, if you are wanting to finance that you can pay that over 6 months. Here are some of the things that you are going to get. You are going to get 8 one-hour webinar group coaching sessions with me. I charge $650 an hour for my coaching. People pay that. I charge also for when I work one-on-one with people, they pay me $25,000 to work with them for 3 months. I can charge that because I get results. You are getting $5,200 of value in the group coaching setting. You'll get my book, What Are You Saying? You will get the 7 Secrets to a Captivating Speech, which is an ebook, which is going to teach you how to write captivating content. You will get an audio program that you can listen to while you're running or while you're sleeping or whenever you're in the car, called the 77 Laws of Public Speaking. Brilliant content there, brilliant content. It will impress upon you all of these keys that I'll be teaching you. Now, what's going to happen is you get 1 hour a week. You learn the great content. You get a chance to practice. I'm going to give you exercises that you do every day for 20 minutes. You will be invited to a special Facebook private group where you can join and others can join who are part of this program. And you will have interaction. You'll be able to present your little speeches there and get feedback from others and maybe myself as well. Obviously, I only have so much time. You will get access to a special site which will have all of the content in written form, notes for you to look at, everything that you need to be a captivating speaker. So you get access to the RRP Hub, get access to the private Facebook group, and you become part of the club. And this content is something that is going to radically change the way that you present forever. So here's how you sign yourself up. You just fill in the information here. All right. And you can make your payment here. And you save $100 if you pay upfront. By the way, as I say, you're not paying $1,695. You're going to pay half of that because you're going to get a discount. I'll give you the discount code. You can apply for 6 months finance. You can provide your credit card numbers. And the promo code is RRP800. So you're going to put in 800, RRP800 for the promo code, and you will pay half price, 50% discount if you sign up from this training. Okay, so here it is. Now you've said, I'm interested, but I want to learn more. Well, you've just learned more. You've just got some information. The first webinar is actually done. I've actually got all 8 webinars, the content written. I've been working very, very hard. Obviously, the content is stuff I've been delivering for years. You're going to also find out, by the way, why people say things like this. This is my last thing. See, here is a little video.
I just have to give a huge shout out to Chanti, Niven, and this Rapid Results program with captivating speakers has been extraordinary. Has by far exceeded every expectation. I've been a speaker for many years, speak all over the country, in many different venues, different stages, coast to coast and around the world. And amazing what I've learned in just a 3-day Rapid Results program. It's just extraordinary. Any speaker of any level can learn something from this program and what is taught here. I cannot even exaggerate it, and speakers are known for exaggeration, right? And I will not exaggerate it because I could not, because it truly is extraordinary what everyone can take out of here to hone their message, to make it more specific, more spot on, more of an impartation instead of information that's given because of this course. So I highly recommend it for everybody. If you want to be the best speaker you can, if you want to give and impart to people a message that's impactful, that's meaningful, that's life-changing, you need to be a part of this.
All right, nothing like a testimonial. There are hundreds of testimonials that I could provide. Everybody who's been through my RRP program has benefited and have reported back amazing results. The difference is now, I used to provide it over 3 days of intensive boot camp and people had to do the work afterwards. Now you have a more measured approach. You get 1 hour of content, you get daily exercises, and you work with me over 8 weeks. If you miss a webinar, it's okay. It's going to be recorded. You'll be able to watch it within 48 hours. You'll do the daily practices and you will see results. I have coached people around the world virtually, as I'm going to be doing with you guys, and the results are the same as if I did it in person. I'm very excited to be presenting my program for the first time online. And if you want to be part of this remarkable program and take your speaking to the next level, sign up right now. I look forward to speaking to you all and coaching you, being your coach from next week. Next week, Wednesday night, is when we start our official Rapid Results program online. Join up now, okay? Thank you so much for joining me. And for those of you who are online, I would like to let you know that at 8 p.m., which is in 12 minutes, I will be going live on Talk Talk with David Lofi, and we're going to be having the battle of the sexes again. We're going to be talking about male-female communication and all manner of stuff. There is a Facebook group that you really must join. It's called Talk Talk, and it's just the Facebook login information, and it says Real Talk Talk at the end of it. I'm going to be posting a link on my Facebook page. Join the group because we're going to be having so much fun in there, and we're going to be doing so much more with this programming. I think we already have 1,300 members of the group. Join now because you're going to get access to all sorts of wonderful stuff, and it's free. That's the best part. It's free. All right, and I want you to join us at 8 o'clock and weigh in with your opinions. Men, tell us how you think and speak, and women, tell us how you think and speak, because we definitely do have some differences between male and female communication. So I look forward to seeing you 8 p.m. on Talk Talk. Thank you for joining me, and have a good evening.